Hey man, what's up?
Ha ha, well, what's up, girl?
None, just leaving school, have to go home and do my American literature project for Mrs. Brown-Cook.
Oh yay, what is it about?
Well, I have to create a visual about the slave lives and tell how they were similar and different.
Who did you choose?
I choose Sojourner Truth and Old Equiano because even though they both were slaves, they had two different experiences.
So explain to me both of their stories because this is going to be a long ride.
Okay, cool. Well, Equiano was an African slave who was sold to an enslaved ship. He also wrote a book on his personal experiences. He was unaware of his surroundings. He thought that the white men that were killing and beating his people were bad spirits. He saw how all the slaves were chained together and showing the sorrows on their faces. Equiano saw slaves dying from diseases, suicide by jumping off the boats, and being abused by the crew. He explained how when he was put under the boat, how miserable it was, simply by the smell the crying souls of women and children. He stated how the crew members would eat fish and throw the fish remainings in the ocean. After they have prayed and begged to eat, the slaves had to suffer.
Wow. Man, thought's cold.
Yay. I know. Equiano stated that when he was on the boat, he saw flying fish. He believed it was a sign. Suddenly they arrived to an island, Barbados, where they would be sold to white men. They were chained up by sex and age groups. The end of his story was that basically everyone was sold, and his book explained the painful life of being on a slave book.
Okay, so enough about him. What about Sojourner Truth?
Sojourner Truth was perhaps the most famous African-American woman in 19th century America. For over 40 years she traveled the country as a forceful and passionate advocate for women, using her quick hand, fearless tongue to fight for human rights. Unlike Equiano, Sojourner was born into slavery. She also escaped slavery. She was in a time period where she could speak to abolitionists without getting killed. In Equiano's case, he was sold into slavery. He was sold in the beginning of slavery, so he had no knowledge of abolitionists. Miss Truth was at the end of slavery, where she had it kind of easier.
So how were their experiences different?
As Sojourner Truth was sold as a slave at the age of 11. She was a victim of sexual and physical abuse. Sojourner Truth had a child and escaped slavery a year before the abolition of slavery. Eventually, she became a free slave. After that, she went to court to fight for the rights back for her child that was took from her. She was successful. She joined forces with other abolitionists such as Frederick Douglass and so on. She was a traveling preacher and a woman advocate. She was famous for her books and speech and a woman. Well, the difference is that Sojourner Truth was able to travel and speak against slavery, and she was a woman. Equiano was trapped on a boat. They both were different because they were in two different time periods of slavery. To me, Equiano had it harder, but Sojourner got more accomplished. Miss Truth was able to travel and able to help stop slavery. Equiano was hopeless. He was a victim, while Miss Truth was an abolitionist and a victim.
Wow, so how were they alike?
They were alike because they both believed that slavery was wrong, and they both were victims. They represent strong, bold, and very powerful African Americans. They also are alike because they both are telling their slave stories just in different ways. Even tough, their slave stories are completely different. They still went through slavery. It's all the same to me. It's wrong.
True, sis. I learned a lot from this too. Like, I can picture everything. Equiano is strong and bold for sharing his story. And so is Sojourner Truth.
But this looked like my stop, so I'll talk to you later.
Ha ha, thoughts right, sis. Hola.